text, I know it's a toss up, but I hate the fact that we lost touch. The Uber pulling up on call. Tell me, is you trying to fall through? I'ma leave it up to you. What you wanna do? Look, I'm trying to spend this time with you. Know we overdue. What you doing right now? Baby, won't you swing my way? It's been a day and I've been thinking out loud. I know I want you. Long time since the last time. Got a tab, we could run up. Knew you from the way, now we grown up. My look, yeah, made the realest ones nervous. But if you want it, tap in. I think that I know somewhere that we could go to crash land. We could keep the pace on slow jam. Don't leave me on red. Can we go back where we first began? No plans, all we had was the moment. This text, I know it's a toss-up. Ashamed who I was, now I'm paid by the sentence. Taking my time with it. Baby, give me yours, so I could get them butterflies trapped in your ribcage. Let me know we on the same page. Hit me with a text, voice note or an emoji. Waiting all day for your name on the ID. So if you want it, tap in. I think that I know somewhere that we could go to crash land. And we could keep the pace on slow jam. Don't leave me on red. Can we go back where we first began? No plans, all we had was the moment. Just text, I know it's a toss-up. But I hate the fact that we lost touch. Yeah. The Uber pulling up on call. Tell me, is you trying to fall through? I'ma leave it up to you. What you wanna do? Don't prove me wrong, prove you right. Don't prove me wrong, prove you right. My word is bond, we don't spit no lies. A daughter of the sunshine. But every blue moon I come alive at night. I like lace my mind. Moody. 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 Oh, you big Moody. I crave love and attention, but I keep everybody at a distance. If I build it, will y'all really come? About all these panties, but I really don't wear none. I like boys and I like girls, but I love my baby. Some may judge, but Emmanuel is still God within me. I don't drink liquor, but it's something about a champagne toast. Still can't swim, but I sure could float. I rip the water parasite, but all the elements live rent free in my mind. Yeah. Moody. 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 I am on an endless journey through eternity.
It's the High Powered Podcast. Lit conversations, debates, and advice that keep you turned up.
Whatever you do, don't tell the truth. If you really love them, lie to them. You supposed to lie to a woman. You only be honest to the ones you don't love and don't like. Shit. But the rest of them, you learn to lie to them because you love them, homie. You can't be honest with no woman you love because she can't handle the truth.
I saw situations that she was in that I felt very bad for. I was like, I would have never did it like that. We was always 100.
Damn.
I will always be honest with a woman. Women don't want you to be honest.
Now she dating that bisexual artist from Europe.
Damn. Women don't want you to be honest with them. That's
not true.
Lesson I've learned.
I don't have no lies to tell you. You're not going to be the only woman that I ever. That's it. It's illogical.
The truth is, ladies, you demand men to lie to you because you don't like the truth. See, according to my 41 Shades of Men, The Pursuit to Subdue and Use You, Chapter 33, The Polyman, a quote by David Ogilvy. says, I never tell one client that I cannot attend his sales convention because I have a previous engagement with another client. Successful polygamy depends upon pretending to each spouse that she is the only pebble on your beach. Ladies, because of your narcissism and competition amongst other women, you want to be told that the world revolves around you. You want his eyes only on you. You want his genitals only with you. So because it ain't the man's nature, men lie to you and you beg them to lie to you because you can't handle the truth. And not only do they think you can't handle the truth, this what else he say.
So, in your experience, women who believe the lies, what do you say about them?
They live happily ever after.
Oh, goddamn. Okay.
Women who pretend to believe the lies live happy, peaceful, drama, stress-free lives.
Really? Because y'all seem real stressed out to me. Real confused why a man doing you this way and that way.
The woman trying to get to the truth, she have nervous breakdowns, she lose her hair, her weight fluctuates, and she's miserable throughout half her life. I promise you. Because the truth hurts. Because the truth hurts. The truth will shatter you. I can't believe he was doing me like this. Well, stop believing it then, bitch.
Yeah, the truth hurt at first, but it'll set you free. So the reality is, it's women who losing their mind and gaining weight and everything that believe the lies. The woman that believe the truth and allow it to hurt for the moment, she becomes free and happy. So if you want to stop lying to yourself and begging men to lie to you, the first step is to get the game 41 Shades of Men, The Pursuit to Subdue and Use You. Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. The next step is to sign up for my Love, Men, and Manipulation Decoded workshop. Because the key is to learn love and learn how to do it yourself. Just hit the link tree in my bio and you can register for my Love, Men, and Manipulation Decoded workshop. Stop playing games with your life, ladies. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Hello, how are you? And it's a special day. It's a special Sunday. You know I don't do shows on Sunday, but for me to come on here on Sunday, then it must be something that was special, a special reason. Well, yes, I have kept this under lock and key for about 3 months now. Actually, January, February, March, April, May, June. 6 months I done kept this underway. Now we recorded this 3 months ago. So y'all had no idea. You had no idea that I talked to this person. I had a debate with Candace Owens on Jubilee. And I think it turned out rather well. So what I decided that I wanted to do today is to analyze the actual debate, the whole debate, all points, not just mine. And here's the reason why I want to do this. Because the way I structured my arguments to her was based on things that she said in the previous 3 points. And I brought them back into our point. So it's imperative that you listen to the entire debate, all 4 points. What did Candace want to argue on? And I will give some commentary because I would have liked to debate her on all 4 points if I could have. So I will give you what I would have said if I was debating her on them other 3 points. Okay. All right. So I wasn't the only one that cooked her. I wasn't the only one that was cooking in there. It was some other folks that was cooking in there too. Okay. But she set herself up for the other people to cook because you'll see. All right. Now, if you are on TikTok, I would like you to come over to my YouTube channel and watch this. I would like you to come to my YouTube channel and watch this because you're not going to be able to hear it on TikTok. And you're not going to be able to see it. And having a full experience is important. So please be sure to go to the link tree in my bio and you'll see my YouTube channel there. Go ahead and come on over. All right. I'll see y'all later. It's at the Queen Maker. All right. All right. Let me take this out. All right. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to get the show on the road? And make sure y'all like the stream when you come in here. Okay? I appreciate it. Okay, so we're finna get this show on the road because it's gonna be a little drive here. So snuggle in, put your seatbelt on, because we finna take a ride. So let's go to pull this up. Go to my scenes. Account. Yes, why wouldn't you? Make sure we can hear
Women,
this.
they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours. And
Okay, I want to make sure. Did y'all hear that? Let me know if y'all heard that because my system called itself changing a little bit, updating. So make sure the audio is good. You heard it? Okay, cool. All right. Sometimes this thing be tripping. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other, but when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this, then spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay. Hi, my name is Candace Owens. I am a podcaster, a mother, a wife, and also the author of the upcoming book, Make Him a Sandwich. And today I am surrounded by 20...
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry to cut that off so quickly. Did she say she wrote a book called Make Him a Sandwich? She already done lost me there. She done already lost me there. Cause now I'm debating a woman that wrote a book called Make Him a Sandwich. Now everybody know I wrote a book called 41 Shades of Men. This clearly not gonna work out. Ma'am, make him a sandwich? Okay.
Feminists. My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
Okay, write that point down. The sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy. Write that point down.
Hi. Hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Samaya.
Samaya, nice to meet you. I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you too. So my question for you is, statistics show that 60% of women who are murdered by their intimate partners, murdered by someone that they are in close relations with. That's according to the UN from 2023.
Yeah.
So how is it that, women are so valued, quote unquote, in the home, and yet that's the place where they're at the most danger?
Okay, so I'm not sure what that has to do with the sexual revolution.
Exactly. So this is the problem when you have a cookie cutter or you start arguing in your own head. You don't actually answer the question that they asked you. This is an easy question. This is an easy question to answer or an easy point to debate. But you have to understand that you have to acknowledge what's true. What Candace is saying is true. However, this is one end of the extreme. The other end of the extreme is being locked in a house, right? is being locked in the house, unable to have your rights. That is also making women less happy. And as a result of that, guess what? They have more stress levels, more cortisol, all of that. So where's the happy medium? Because both points would be correct, but you have to be willing to acknowledge when someone says something correct.
Right, the sexual revolution.
The first claim.
The sexual revolution gave.
I'm happy to answer it. I'm just saying that, you know, if you broaden that statistic, you are more likely in general just to be murdered by somebody you know. So of course.
But men are much less likely to be murdered by, you know, their
That's not
partners.
true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure, because men are less likely to be murdered by women. Full stop. Yeah, exactly. So that statistic makes sense to me. I'm still not sure how this correlates to whether or not the sexual revolution
increased women's ability to leave the house, women's ability to control their own reproductive.
No. Sex does not give people the ability to leave the house. The Credit Act of 1974 gave women the ability to have their own credit. In 1980, the early 1980s is when the divorce rate skyrocketed due to women getting their abilities to own their own credit profiles. So you can't contribute that to sex. This is why people lose. This is how Candace Owens is able to debate people. She typically debates people like this. That's who she typically talked to.
Capabilities, women's ability to, you know, control their own capacity within the workforce in regards to their own sexual capacity. So it is the very fact that the sexual revolution happened that made our access to the workplace much more, or just the public sphere in general.
What's sex got to do with that? What's sex got to do with that? Sexual revolution was allowing women to be more promiscuous and make it easy for men. That's true. So the way I would have approached Candace with that, I would say, Candace, you are 1000% correct. However, where I believe you are incorrect is on what freedom actually is. I would have flipped that whole argument to talking about freedom, because most people believe that freedom is recklessness with no responsibility or accountability. So yes, so you're saying that women being free is detrimental to them. I would argue that freedom is not what's detrimental to women, that the lack of understanding of what freedom is in accordance with recklessness is the issue. Because all of the greats who have become the best version of themselves understand that freedom ain't free. And freedom comes at a cost, and that cost is self-discipline. That cost is the giving up of pleasures. So that's how I would have debated her on sexual freedom. These people don't know how to debate.
Much more easy. So without the sexual revolution, women would be much more confined to the place where they're at the most danger. Isn't that true?
So you think that, just so I'm trying to understand your argument here, you think that if we didn't have the sexual revolution, less women or more women would be murdered? Are you saying that women are
more women would be murdered, for sure?
Okay. I disagree with that. I still don't think it has anything to do with.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that. If it were not for the sexual revolution, because men need sex, if it were not for that, men would be far more aggressive. And that's just based on biology. So had I been talking to her, once she said that, I would have drew this straight back to biology. and focused on the male's biological makeup of needing access to sex. And when sexual access is more restricted, men become more aggressive. When sexual freedom or with more abundant sexual options, males become less violent, less aggressive. So I would agree with that, right? Candace is disagreeing because the chick that's saying that does not have a factual reference to back up her point.
The claim that women are infinitely less happy because of the sexual revolution, which has devalued women.
I think you'd probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't, okay. Okay. There is definitely a correlation between personal relationships and domestic violence. And just to be clear, if we're talking about just like a monogamous relationships, the most violent relationships that are on the books are between lesbian partners. Yes, when people are intimate,
that's not a true
that is actually true.
No, the statistic you're talking about is people who have faced domestic violence. Lesbians, yes, are more likely to have faced domestic violence, but that's because they're typically...
See, this is why when you bring up a point, you should not derail the conversation and go in a different direction, because the reality is this is irrelevant to the topic. How we getting on lesbian domestic violence now? Because she brought up intimate partner violence, which had absolutely nothing to do with the topic being discussed. So this now you got to weasel your way out of this. Now you got to weasel your way out of this when you wouldn't even have had to do that if we would have stayed on topic.
Came from relationships with men in which they were mistreated.
Lesbian relationships are the most violent relationships that we have on the books.
But we can move on.
They can fact check that claim. The point being is that it's not exactly a stunning statistic to say that when people are in relationships, period, whether those relationships are homosexual, whether they're married,
you're saying that.
But see, this why Candace was so lost when she talked to me. Because she used to having conversations with people that think in these types of patterns. So the girl, you brought the conversation in a way that you couldn't even finish it. You was like, okay, well, let's just move on. Nope. See, this how Candace railroaded her.
The sexual revolution.
Let me finish. I've let you try to explain how this is correlated to happiness, and I don't think it does. I actually think you're having a different debate right now. But yes, absolutely, it makes perfect sense that you are more likely in general when you are in a relationship, because people are driven by anger by people that they know, whether or not we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, a husband and a wife, a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife. Yes, of course, the instances of domestic violence are going to take place when you're inside of a home. But the sexual revolution, encouraging women to give up their goods for free, which is what I'm speaking about, and encouraging men not to marry these women or to have long-term relationships, what I am saying is a direct contributor to their unhappiness, because women are giving up their goods for free, and women are now entering the workplace, and that does not actually make them happy.
Okay, pause. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Okay, for those of y'all remember the person that I told y'all I was debating? Oh, well, not debating, but remember the professor, the gender studies professor that I told y'all? This is the person that I was talking about. She refers to herself as they, them. Now I was confused. I was totally confused by this whole conference, but this is the person that I was telling y'all about.
Hello.
Hi there.
How are you? I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you. Julian, my pronouns are they, them. It's very interesting to think of it when we just think about the gender binary. It's, how do we place value on human beings in general? And so when we think about, placing value, that comes from a place of power, right? So I think let's select like the Victorian era. You have this dominant group of people coming from white supremacy, deciding who gets to have a proper status in the world. And so that is already like taking human beings and devaluing them. And so what the sexual revolution did was to help people seek out empowerment, which increased value, no matter the gender. So when it comes...
What did it got to do with the topic? Remember the point? The sexual revolution made it easy for men, pretty much. It benefited men and made women infinitely more unhappy. This is this is the reason why by the time Candace got to me, she was lost. She was lost. Because this who she was debating. This who she was debating all the way up until she got to me.
This is sexual revolution. Let's look at one contribution is sex education. I'm actually an educator. I teach sociology and LGBTQ studies. And I have absolutely seen the positive outcome with the sexual revolution and sex education and seen people empower themselves. And with that comes safety when it comes to decreasing STIs, abuse, sexual assault. Again, people get to empower themselves of all genders. And I know earlier you mentioned about...
See, this conversation would have been ended had I been able to debate on this point, because I would have tore the word freedom up, and I'd have put a whole new spin on freedom. I mean, how does women going out and allowing another man to biologically imprint on her, how is that freedom and beneficial for the woman? There's a reason why women have so much psychosis going on. They are allowing too many different men to biologically imprint on them. And this part of freedom, this is what I mean by freedom. Freedom comes with responsibility, education, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Women do not have any understanding of their own biome. They have no understanding of their own makeup in relation to men. Because if women understood what was actually taking place when they were with men, they would not assume or believe that going out sleeping with multiple men was any form of empowerment. Not at all. So she can't get Candace.
Violence amongst lesbians and sapphic community, which I do identify within. All genders can be subjected to violence.
That was the point I was making. So I wasn't sure of how her claim was relating to what we were talking about, whether or not it makes people happy or unhappy. Relationships are obviously a ground where there can be violence.
I guess I could just wrap it up by saying, like, if we all have access to like sex education through the incredible work of feminists through the sexual revolution, we are able to gain access to information and gain skills to create an equitable society, egalitarian within our relationships, whether it be platonic or romantic. I'm so grateful for those feminists who have fought for us so we can gain those spaces and create a healthier society.
Okay, are you a believer in the government doing everything that it can to make people happy?
So when it comes, as someone that teaches in the public sector, I understand the concern when it comes to what is a teacher, what kind of information they're providing to the students. I do believe that we, as a teacher, I should be able to give that sort of information. Again, I teach college students. One of my claims is I believe that we should mandate sex education amongst college students. So yes, I do want the state, I would like the government to give us those resources so we can implement that curriculum.
Okay, you consider yourself a feminist, I'm assuming?
Queer feminist. There's variations, right?
What is a queer feminist as opposed to a feminist, just so I understand?
Well, so I heavily believe in queer theory. So, the gender binary that we understand, it comes from colonization. So someone who is mixed race, family from Mexico, we have the Mushes in Mexico, which is an indigenous tribe. They believed in gender fluidity. And then you have European colonizers coming who dismantle that. And now everything that we understand when it comes to gender is a Western lens. So from a queer...
So you don't even think women exist, I'm guessing.
I think everyone should be empowered to...
Look, let me tell you. Look, this person right here. So Candace say you don't even think women exist. Baby, this woman don't think words exist. She don't think nothing exists. She don't think biology exists. She has totally eradicated chromosomes. I'm telling you the conversation that we had after the show. This is the person that's over gender studies and sociology. teaching people kids. This who be teaching people kids. And then you wonder why you got to have your hand in education. So here's the thing. The people who funded the people who funded feminism also funded the Board of Education. Look at our educational system. This matters. So make sure you put that point down.
To figure out their identity and explore the language that best describes themselves. So freedom, America, right? America, freedom. And I want to believe in that when it comes to identity. Right. Everyone should have the freedom to decide how they want to identify, as long as they're not causing harm. But that's where we get into the debate, what is harm?
So just, again, to be clear, to go back to this claim, we are debating female happiness. Mm-hmm. You are saying you do not identify as a female.
I identify with all gender expressions, so from masculinity to femininity. So
I'm just saying, are you just saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are happier after the sexual revolution? I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like you're debating queer theory as opposed to female.
I believe all genders benefit from the sexual revolution.
She came up there with, this woman came up there with her own agenda. Before we started recording, at the end of the recording, she paused and had everybody stop so that she could talk about us supporting all the stuff that she talking about, right? Which clearly don't make no sense. But the whole point of her being there was because she just wanted to put out a message about queer theory. She wasn't even there to debate nobody. She just wanted to be on camera so she could talk about queer theory. I'm just showing y'all the reason why Candace Owens was so blindsided by me. By the time she got to me, this who she was talking to before she got to me.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Hello.
I'm Zena.
Zena, very much like your name.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Can we start with the beginning? Do you identify as a female?
I identify as a woman, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I do want to get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly sexual.
But that's true. That's true. You can't win a debate if you're going to deny things that are true.
That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So are you saying, but you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. According to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free, because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality?
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less as a human being.
But hold on. Pause. If women want to get married and they want to marry men, they understand that they're not getting in a relationship with a man unless they're giving up sex. This doesn't matter. It matter if you're married or dating. Women intuitively know that they ain't finna have no relationship with a man unless they are sleeping with them. One problem with this is the fact that women are bankrupt in the love department. Women are desperately seeking love, validation, and acceptance from men. And they use sex as a tool to try to get that. which means that women ultimately end up sleeping with more males, and a lot of them still don't have males to commit to them. So every time a male is taking a chunk of you away, because if you understand how the male impacts you when he has sex with you, then you will understand why you become less and less and less, because you are receiving so much trauma. You are receiving so much of the energetic being that he is. You're receiving his thoughts. You're receiving how he thinks and feels about you. You're receiving his bad day. Well, guess what? You carrying all that trauma around in your body. If you have children, when you go to another relationship, the only thing that you can bring to that doggone relationship is a bunch of trauma. You need somebody to talk to about all the stuff that you've been through. People don't want to hear that. So the more people you be with sexually, knowing that, quote unquote, the sexual market value, your value goes down if it's based on sex, baby. And the more available it is, the lower the price. That's typical supply and demand, sweetie. That's a fact. You're not going to win this argument denying that.
Not as a human being, just, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship, certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when the market is throwing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah, well, I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So,
yes,
men define a woman's worth.
Yes, ma'am, because they're the ones that have to buy you. Now, as women, you give yourself up for free. You've been giving yourself up for free. As a matter of fact, not only were you giving yourself up for free, you was paying men to be with you. You were paying them to be with you. That's how desperate you are as women. You cook, clean, give up your youth, beauty, and all of that. You do that for nothing. Y'all do that to try to convince somebody to be your boyfriend. And it wasn't until the level up content came around that you figured that, it's time for you to charge. It's time for you to charge. Ma'am, you are selling yourself like a product. And the person that's buying the product is the one that gets to say how valuable it is to them. They're the ones that get to determine how much it's worth. So if you want to be with a man, that man is going to set your value because you are totally dependent on how he sees you. If you want to value yourself, then you can't be dependent on a relationship with a man in order to value yourself or to have high value and then not be dependent on what a man think. But as long as you want to be with a man, then that you give that man the power to determine if the price that you set is even worth it. That's just the way it is.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay, so you're saying in all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And I disagree with that, because women want fantasies. What makes women happy is the idea of a fantasy world. Reality typically clashes with that. So if women were so happy with family, you wouldn't have a slew of Reddit posts, a slew of divorces, and a slew of them saying they regret ever having this. Oh, it's so hard. I'm so depressed. Postpartum depression. Nobody helping me. I'm a married single mother. That's the reality. That's the reality of being a wife, a stay-at-home mother, all of that goes in direct opposition of the fantasies that women believe will fulfill them until they've been hit with that reality brick wall. So this idea that Candace is saying is also a delusional talking point that don't have nothing to do with reality. Because the fact of the matter is, if women were so happy, number one, when women didn't have rights, you're rallying to take women's rights away. In 1973, it was still legal for a man to beat his wife. It was still legal all the way up until 1993. Women were still getting their rib cages broken and killed in 1973, and the police still did not do anything about it. They never took those domestic violence calls seriously. 1973, bam, 1974 come in. Women are now able to have their own credit and take out loans in their name. Soon as 1980 came around, the highest divorce rate in history, 22.1. skyrocketed in 1980, in the early 1980s, 81, 82. Don't sound like they that happy. See, if I debated her on that point, that's exactly what I would have brought up. The statistics do not confirm what you're saying, Candace.
And this is going to work in all cases. You're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, fulfilled without being tied to other people. In the case of family?
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they...
And even with the fact check, it says there's conflicting research on this topic, which tells you that Candace Owens is not correct. That the angle that she's coming from can easily be challenged. It can easily be challenged because of the conflicting data. And I just gave you some of the conflicting data that would have showed that her point was not really a point.
Have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to, I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right? And we see that they also have been the most open in regards to sexual norms and sexual roles, right? So, and we also see that there's less rates of like STDs reported. We see more, and that's also due to comprehensive sex education that's pushed in those countries. So we see that and that's like a direct result of the sexual revolution, right? So when we're seeing that direct reports of happiness, right, we don't have these same rates in America. In these countries that are more sexually open, why would we see like those rates in those type of countries?
So I think you might be referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women were the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers. No. Okay. Well, there was
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be there's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognize that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud. And they were unable to reproduce these studies, and they also found that the data had been faked. The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women, and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella, were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
You would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Okay, well, how can we, let's measure, then you have to give me a way that we can measure happiness. How can we measure happiness? So I would say suicide rates would be a good thing to look at. Drug, alcohol consumption would be a good thing to look at. Of course, right?
But we would have to, I can say at this point.
People's happiness is not based on getting these things that they think they want. The reason why most people are unhappy is because their expectations of life failed them. They tried to go after what they thought was the right way to do things, only to be hit with reality that does not align with their expectations. That is where most unhappiness comes from. When it comes to women, it doesn't matter. It does not matter if a person pursues one thing or another. The thing that they didn't pursue will always be the thing that they regret not doing. So women say, oh, I had a career and everything, and now I didn't have children, and I regret not having a family. Well, if you actually had the family, then you would have regretted not having the career. So the reality is you can never make humans happy because they're looking for a utopia and a perfect world. And when they don't get that, they are dissatisfied and they feel let down. They feel cheated. They feel lied to. That's the truth of happiness. Now, how do you actually create happiness? Through gratitude. Through gratitude. Through lowered expectations. Through a more realistic approach, because too many women looking for a marriage, too many women looking for a wedding and not a marriage. Most women don't even know what a marriage actually is. And when they get in it, they actually dissatisfied. Women who are single without kids, they think something is wrong with them because they're trying to keep up with society, which all of this contributes to unhappiness. It's not the situation itself, it's the thought processes behind it.
In society, I don't think everyone is happy. I think there's a lot of things that we need to reconcile in society.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right? But we have to look at the cause, right? Why are these things predicted, right? And for example, if we talk about men, there are a lot of things we can look at, right? That tend to predetermine suicide, right? But we can't say, oh, these two things are happening at the same time. This caused this other thing.
Yes, that's right. But I do think that we can objectively say that women who are committing suicide rates more than they were in the 1950s, like it has actually increased marginally. That's not a sign that us entering the workforce.
The suicide rate among women is statistically unchanged since the 1950s. Now, Candace just throwing out stuff. And it's good that they fact check this, because when you're talking to people who argue with emotions, you can randomly throw out something and they ain't gonna challenge you on it. They're not gonna challenge you on it. So she basically just said something that was factually false.
Suddenly made us
How
all
is
very
it
happy.
A cause of the workforce?
We're also binge drinking at a higher rate.
How's this
we're
cause of
opioids at a higher rate?
How is this a cause of entering
Because
the
I think women are being put on a pathway.
See, they don't even let her finish. Everybody just keep cutting off.
Aspirationally.
But you're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause? Like you're not substantiating the claim. You're saying this is what I think. I'm seeing two.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Great job. Hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Nikki.
Nice to meet you.
So when we're talking about the value of women on a societal scale and how we view each other, right? When you're devaluing us, you're objectifying us. And
women objectify themselves. Women objectify themselves. Women know that in order to get male attention, that they have to somehow be sexually attractive. Women understand that. So women objectify themselves. You don't demand that a man respect your mind. You do not demand that he respects you for who you are. you give in to what you think he wants, which is sex. So you objectify yourselves. You don't force men to rise up to another level beyond sex. Because you're scared that if you do, he won't find you attractive enough to deal with you.
And follow me, I promise. But rape rates have gone down by about half in the last 20 years, right? So
the rape rates over the last 20 years are difficult to track because the FBI changed the definition in 2013, which led to a significant increase in cases.
If you're saying we're less valuable now, why wouldn't we be suffering at a higher rate?
So is the argument that you're making, just so I understand, that because women are giving up sex for free, they're not being raped?
Every study shows rape is not correlated with just sexual gratification. It is a power structure.
Okay.
So it is about objectifying and abusing women when you rape them, not about whether or not you want sex.
The way to argue this, if you're going to bring this argument to the table, the argument is based on male nature, that when sex is restricted, the male becomes more aggressive and competitive. And you can use chimpanzees and bonobos to explain this. When sex is more abundant, the males become less aggressive, less competitive, and less violent. This is just the reality. When you restrict sex and put rules on it, you have situations like in Colombia, where since the women have been locked down, you have acts like bestiality, where the males are penetrating donkeys. That's what they do in Colombia. Because the male is so needy for sex that he has to have it from somewhere. Well, in America, we're not allowing men to screw donkeys. So when you restrict sex over here and then put them in a house with a woman, it becomes even more dangerous for a woman in that house with that man. If you're going to bring this argument to the table, you need to be able to point back to research. And the fact that Jubilee puts fact checks up there based on what you're saying would have been a nail in the coffin. Nail in the coffin.
What I am saying is that women are less objectified, so therefore we are being raped less.
Okay, so you think that in today's society, because this is pretty wild for me. In the 1950s, you're saying women were more objectified than today in the land of OnlyFans, the Kardashian clan, and women that are essentially putting up their boobs and butts for free on Instagram. You're saying we finally have achieved less objectification, where women can't even get onto an advertising. You can't even advertise a bag without them having to be naked in order for them to get a career as a model. You're saying, oh great, we've achieved actually less objectification.
So I'm not trying to suggest that I think that the over-commodification of women's bodies is positive. But what I am saying is that when you're going to the 1950s, that we shouldn't put this glazed look of, oh, it was so happy. We had single income households and we got to stay home. We also had a pill popping problem. We also were viewed as maids. Like, we were seen as a house appliance far more than we were as people. And so when you have that kind of objectification where you are in a subservient position, I think we're facing a different form today. But I think that rape is a signifier of a contradiction to your statement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense, but I do want to rebut it on a couple of points. So first, I just want to say, suggesting that objectification has gone downward since the 1950s is wild. That's just a firm no. That is not the truth, and you know that's not true.
Wait, so do you feel like...
Hold on, let me answer your second thing. Okay. Second thing, you then brought up, okay, women were at home, but they were pill popping. Well, you then have to acknowledge we're actually popping more pills now, right? So we have actually increased our amount of pill popping. Women are having overdoses on opioids. And on top of that, since I think 1999, by rate, we are increasing our opioid use compared to men. So women are not popping pills less because we're going into the workforce. That's actually not true at all either. We're also, like I said to you, consuming alcohol more and binge drinking more than we did in the 1950s, which is why I was trying to get her to say, we need to look at actually give me any reasonable metric of how we can define happiness, because it's hard, right? Are you happy, yes or no?
Sure, but wait, hold on. We're actually avoiding what my original point was about rape being the signifier.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Hi.
I like your hat.
Whitney Shanahan.
Nice to meet you.
I am fascinated by your claim that women have lost happiness since the sexual revolution, since the 1950s. Do you think that there is any tie to happiness and freedom and happiness and choice? Because since 1950s, since the sexual revolution, women have gotten exponentially more freedom and more choice. And for me, as a mother and as a woman, having the freedom to choose what I do, to make my own destiny, makes me infinitely more happy than, say, back before the sexual revolution, when I couldn't get a bank account, couldn't get a home loan, couldn't work outside the home, couldn't travel around without a man, couldn't control my own reproduction. So I feel that happiness, personally, my belief, is tied to our ability to have freedom. And I think that in the United States, protecting freedom and our individual freedoms is what's going to lead us to happiness.
Did you go to college?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Did you?
Yes, I did. So you have a degree.
Absolutely.
Now,
Okay, I want to let y'all know that in order for you to understand my arguments that I brought to Candace, we have to watch the whole thing. Now, I come in at 43 minutes, right? So we on point 1. Point 2, or claim 2, is coming up next, right? So just hold your horses. It's getting there, because you need to see who Candace talked to before she talked to me, which is how Candace got blindsided. Now, this has been going on for 19 minutes. So far, she has talked to 3 people that didn't even argue the point. They start talking about something totally different. We had one of them come up here talking about queer theory. So all of this is playing on Candace's energy and psychology, right? It matters. It matters, because if it didn't, I'd have jumped straight to mine. But because I brought up points that she made in these other 3 points, it's critical for you to be able to understand what I was saying.
Now, when you went to college, did you go to college because it was simply something that you wanted to do? Or did you think that I have to go to college because in order to get a job, I have to have a college degree?
I went to college for art because I was fascinated with art.
Okay. It's just answering my question. Did you go to college? Was that the only reason you went to college? Or did you think that I might want to do something in art, so I have to go to college, like, for my career?
I went to school because I wanted to expand my horizons. I mean, I think that's why most people go to university.
Yeah.
Why did you go?
That's actually not
Why
true.
did you go?
I went, and I think a lot of people go because there's a pressure that if you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure.
Yeah, but you asking an individual. You're asking an individual why she went to college. And if she tell you something different than what typically happens, you actually have to accept that. You can't now paint the average statistics on what this individual is telling you about why she chose to go to college, right? Because I don't think that a lot of people believe that if you're going for an art degree, that you're finna get ready to get some high level paying job in art. Most people go to college to take classes or get degrees in things that they think will get them high-paying jobs. That's why people go to the medical field. And a lot of them hate working in the medical field because they only did it for money. I don't know too many art degree people going to get those degrees because they think they're going to be high-paid people. You don't have to get a degree to be a master at art. Right? Some people do go to college because they want to do what they love and they want to expand their education. And some people do. That's not everybody, though.
Choice. Everything's a choice. So taking away choices doesn't make people happier. Taking away freedom doesn't make people happier.
I'm disagreeing with you on the idea that people are feeling more free by financial pressure. I think financial pressure makes people feel remarkably less free.
So you want no bank accounts again? Women not to have credit cards?
I'm not saying that women shouldn't have access to credit cards or banking accots. You're putting words in my mouth, so why don't you respond to the words that I'm saying?
Well, less financial pressure. If I don't have a bank account, that's a lot.
Let her finish.
Less financial pressure, I guess, right?
That financial pressure in terms of most people that go to college, and I'm counting myself among them, it's because typically in order to get the job that you're being sold is going to make you infinitely happier and infinitely more free, it just requires a college degree.
But here's the thing. If you're going to say that with that, then now you got to extrapolate that back to your argument on happiness being marriage. Because the same way they can sell people on that fantasy and that pie in the sky is the same way they can sell you on getting married. That pie in the sky. So what's the difference between the two? Because at the end of the day, you can be unhappy in both pursuits. So what's the difference?
And most of these people, to be clear, have to put themselves, the majority of people have to put themselves into debt. And I don't think anybody would describe debt as a form of freedom, right? I don't think anybody would realistically say...
Let's get back to happiness. So we're here to talk about happiness and how the sexual revolution, and we're not talking about...
Well, you got to talk about that because you brought up freedom being happiness. And so now she made a legitimate point that if we don't talk about freedom, let's talk about an aspect that would completely decrease freedom, which is debt. That's a legitimate point. See, this is why you got to be very careful with what you bring to the table, because if you don't have the fortitude and the ability to pivot to be able to carry the argument all the way to the end, you'll lose. So if you bring it to the forefront, take it to the end. Take it to the end.
College debt, I think it's important because we're talking about freedom. You just said that the reason why I feel happy is because I have more freedom. And I am saying that financial restraints and debt doesn't make people feel more free.
So let's eliminate the debt. Let's eliminate college debt. Maybe we should have free college here in the U.S. That sounds great. Great idea, Candace. I love that idea. All right.
Okay.
Love it. Woo! Champion for the people.
Girl. Very nice.
All right, return to your seat.
So far, Candace is up. Do y'all agree with me? Do y'all think Candace is up right now? I think she up right now. Based on the arguments. I think she up right now.
Surrounded is now a podcast available.
Kids and having a job or deciding what they want to.
No career will give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold your horses. Claim 2. This is claim 2. No career will give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children. No career. Okay.
Oh, hi, Candace. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm John. Okay, so I feel like a lot of your arguments today are very rooted in a sort of old school perspective, I have to be honest. Like, I think, and I'm not trying to be insulting whatsoever, I feel as though most people would identify that claim as pretty extreme and pretty like...
Children are extreme?
Well, no, that women would get more happiness inherently from raising kids than having a job or deciding what they want to do with their lives.
Why is that? I'm just curious. Why would having children, which is just a natural biological conclusion be something.
But biology does not produce happiness. As a matter of fact, it's proven that people who seek pleasures are the most unhappy. Because happiness is not a biological trait. As a matter of fact, when you go in line with nature, you're more likely to suffer from anger, grief, regret, jealousy, competition, all of that. People out here having all these babies are stressed out. Biological nature just say you're just supposed to reproduce and survive. And when you reproduce and survive, you are not in happiness. Survival is not a state of happiness. And when women get babies, the more they have, the more it drains their energy and the more it drags them down into survival. Right? The majority of women with children are walking around in fight or flight. Fight or flight is not a state of happiness. You're on the verge of an imminent breakdown if you stay in that zone. Staying at home and constantly being bombarded with children is guaranteed to keep you in that zone. That's not happiness.
Something that sounds extreme.
I just said inherently.
Inherently.
That's the
extreme.
inherent expectation.
Yeah.
That's better for
It's inherent because it's biological. So I think when we think about things that are inherent, I think biology is a good thing to start with, right? So biologically speaking, men and women come together, they form families, and that's the reason why you're sitting here. That's the reason that I'm sitting here, is because biology is inherent.
Well,
so
I was
saying it's just natural order that we're speaking about, right?
Okay, let's break it down. So why do you believe that? Why do you believe that?
Why do I believe that?
Why do you inherently are happier? Yeah.
Okay, you keep stressing this word inherent. So.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think because it speaks to natural order and every piece of life.
This argument could totally be torn down because happiness is not biological. Survival and reproduction is. And reproduction keeps you in a survival state, which is in direct opposition of happiness. That is so easy to torpedo.
I think is enriched by children.
You don't think it's natural for women to get to decide what they want to do with their lives?
I do not think that saying women can decide whether or not they want to go to work or have children is problematic. What I'm saying to you is that women will get the most fulfillment from having a family.
Because it's natural.
It's natural, but also children are wonderful and beautiful and...
Okay, now, you can't debate with opinions. Your idea of what's happy and wonderful go in direct opposition of facts. We need to be able to determine the difference between a fact and opinion. And Candace, your perception on what you think is beautiful and wonderful is an opinion and not a fact. So let's stick to facts, can we?
Spiritually divine creatures. I mean, they're amazing. There's everything about having a child. Yes, it's a lot of work. It's beautiful.
I hear that.
Whoa. Yes, it's a lot of work. Let me ask you this question. What kind of work is it? Since you say it's a lot of work, which I agree with you, Candace, can you detail all the work that's involved in this? Can you? See, I couldn't have debated her on all four of these points. It'd have been over.
Well, yeah. Okay, what if there's a little girl born and it's her dream her entire life to be an author or to be, on TV or any of these things, and having children is very expensive. It takes a lot of time. So how is it better for that, and I understand this is hypothetical, but that hypothetical little girl to have children than to pursue these things that would make her happy as she gets older?
I just think that if she publishes the book and she has a child, she would agree with me that the child was more fulfilling and made her happy. That's what I'm happier than the book did, is what I'm saying.
That's not what all of these posts on Reddit be saying, all these women that say they regret having their kids and they ain't got no connection with them and that the kids derailed their careers and stuff. I think, Candace, you're not open to the facts that they have complete TikTok channels reading all these women's complaints about having these kids.
And I say this as a published author of a New York Times. I would choose my children over my best-selling book. And I was that little girl who had a dream that like, oh, it would be really great if I could share my thoughts and ideas in a book. But it is utter insanity for me to reflect on that and say that I would have rather published Blackout than to have my 3 children.
But why is it rather? You see what I'm saying?
It's not rather. I'm just saying
well, that's
that
your claim.
That's
your claim is that it's better.
It will be more fulfilled.
Right.
Yes.
So rather.
Well, if it's an either or, if you're saying it's an either or, I'm just saying that if these 2 things have happened in your life, the thing that will bring you more spiritual fulfillment will be children. And so women who are neglecting that, who are neglecting the pathway to, strive toward family because they think their career is going to hug them at night, or they think that when they're on their deathbed, their career is going to come up next to them and say, you were so great.
First and foremost, a career. When you, as a person who incarnates onto the planet, you have talent, skills, and gifts that you are to use for work. We all have work to do. You either going to be working as a slave for somebody else's dream, or you're going to be doing work that's divinely in alignment with your authentic self that helps add value to the world. So we come here as souls to grow, develop, and to work. When you place your soul into work, it is growing who you are, and you are fulfilled by your divine work. To tell somebody that they work is kids is keeping them undeveloped because rats have babies. Roaches have babies. Anybody that lay on their back can pop out a kid. Point blank, period. We got over 300,000 children in foster care right now because people done laid on their back and popped out some kids. And the world is low and hurting for valuable human beings that actually add value to society, which is the reason why we turn into robots.
Great to me. I think that they've stepped into a delusion, and I'm hopeful that they wake up from it before it's too late.
All right, pause. Yeah. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Hi.
Naima,
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so currently, women make up about 47% of the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
If this were the case and that women were just inherently unhappy or unfulfilled working and would just prefer to be at home, why don't they?
Because we've made that due to prior feminist waves nearly impossible, because now, which I believe the reason that the government wanted women to enter the workforce was because it gave them an opportunity to tax a household twice. And so this goes back to what I was saying, is that there's a lot of financial pressure that is being.
So what they say on the fact check, there are a number of reasons more women entered the workforce. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, access to birth control, recognition of sexual harassment in the workplace, and the ability of women to apply for a line of credit without a male cosigner starting in 1974, right? That is so important because Candace does not like to point out the fact of abuse, deadly violence in these marriages. The fact that you had to have a Pregnancy Discrimination Act and the creation of sexual harassment tells you the nature of men when you don't put controls on them. It tell you how men gonna act when you don't put controls on them. The mere fact that you had to put controls on them. The mere fact that you had to abolish or make it illegal to beat your wife in 1993. And marital rape was also a part of that. So I'm trying to figure out why ain't nobody brought up these facts because this is what you want to go back to, Candace.
Exerted on young women to enter the workforce, and they do so blindly under this illusion that somehow entering the workforce.
So you don't think women wanted to enter the workforce to get away from the toxic environments that they were in the early 60s and 70s? You think it's just because they didn't know what they was doing? They didn't know why they was going to the workforce. They was just tricked. I mean, the only reason they was allowed to go to work is because, they wanted to tax half the population, and she ain't know no better. That's what she sit up here saying.
Going to make you more fulfilled, like getting yourself into 6 figures of debt, going to college to then take on a career and be in debt and having to pay student loans while you make $35K is going to make you happier. And I'm saying,
but it's okay for the men to go out and make and take out student loans. And when he can't pay because you want him to take care of the house and pay all the bills plus student loans to get a better career, you don't think that he gonna take his frustrations out on the wife that ain't working and helping? You don't think she gonna get more black eyes when he got to carry the debt? I'm just trying to figure out what the argument is.
that isn't actually true.
Okay, so I hear that. Yeah. At the same time, would you not agree that that women can both have a career and have children? I mean, you are actively doing that right now.
And I want to be very clear because I am actively doing it right now. I would be someone that you would call an exception because I get to work from home. I get to wake up in the morning. I don't have a boss, right? I don't have to go into the office from 9 to 5. I get to then therefore spend the entire morning with my children.
So you're an exception, and the 47% of women that make up our labor force are also an exception?
No, the exact opposite. So I'm trying to make it more realistic because I think it's really bad form when people who are able to stay at home, right, and are able to start working at, 1:00 p.m. as I do after being around their children, the children are running around all day, will then preach to you that every woman can have this. That's not the reality. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of people are stuck behind a desk all day and they're not happy. They're not doing work that gratifies them at all. And at the same time,
most people ain't doing work that gratify them. But it's but it's okay to have men do work that don't gratify them. Now, let me tell you something. Men who own companies, especially trucking companies, men will tell you that they will rather hire a woman than a man because women actually work. And the men are crybabies and prima donnas. That's what the men will tell you who hire men, that they prefer to hire women due to the difference in work ethic. So you don't actually want capable people to take jobs because you want to create the idea of a utopia which don't exist. And in your idea, a utopia is a woman being trapped at the house, even if she qualified to do something else and want to do something else.
Spending.
Well, that's just what career you've chosen. But I think that the issue with your
work a 9 to 5, I think that's
okay.
Reality,
yes, but
right?
if it's the job that is making them unhappy, then maybe they should have chosen a different career path and not the structure of the career itself. But my issue with this is that not only is it claiming that women can't both be mothers and have jobs, which we know to be true because millions of women do.
And here we go. And women wanting it all. See, if I was Candace, once she said this, I'd have went in for her jugular, because that is part of the reason why women are so unhappy, trying to have it all and not making a definitive decision that they gonna have to compromise and give up something. Women trying to do everything. Women trying to live a real Barbie lifestyle. You know, Barbie, she the one that had all the jobs. She did everything. Ken didn't do nothing but surf on the beach. Barbie worked for the Postal Service. She was a pilot. She used to serve burgers at the Shake Shack. I mean, Barbie was getting it in. Barbie ain't getting no sleep, and she was still bad after working all them goddamn hours. Okay? This is what women want to do. You want to do it all, and this contributes to your stress levels and unhappiness. Now, if I was Candace, I'd have hit her with that.
Do that. My mother does that. You are actively doing it right now. But it also is qualifying what every single woman in this country wants without any clear evidence. I mean, there's 169 million women in this country. How can you say that you know exactly what every woman secretly wants? Are you asking them?
That wasn't my claim that I secretly know what every single woman wants. I'm saying that if you measure up at the end of your life, what brought you more fulfillment, your career or a children?
Why are you talking about the end of life? Because what brings you more happiness is living in the here and now. Trying to tell somebody how they need to turn out their life on the premise when they on their deathbed, ma'am, how you know this woman ain't gonna get hit by a car next week? You live in the here and now because you might not make it to your deathbed. You might not make it to the quote unquote end of your life 80 years, 90 years from now. But what happens is a lot of people, when they get on their deathbed, they have regrets about not doing the thing that their heart desired and doing what society told them to do. So if you really want to live with the end in mind, think about what you gonna regret. And if you got a burning desire, something that don't have nothing to do with having kids or anything, you're going to regret not doing that to sit up here and act on your biological nature. It's too many people that regret having children and resent the kids. And now the children don't grow up with a capable parent that actually values them, and they just do the bare minimum because them people didn't want them kids anyway. So you don't have the right to tell somebody what's going to make them happy, and they need to think about it 50 years down the line. You need to think about what you're going to regret if you don't do it.
And raising children in your family, we will discover that, and there actually have been studies, people that have gone to people on their deathbeds, and
look, fact check. It's so funny that they brought it up. Fact check. According to the top 5 regrets of the dying by Bronnie Ware, too much work is the number 2 regret, behind not living a life true to yourself. Without living a life true to yourself, that does not have anything to do with kids, family. What is true to yourself? Well, some of them might wish they would have went skydiving. Others wish they might have wrote a book or started that business. You don't get to say that the life that's true to oneself is kids and a spouse. But that's what she's saying.
Number 1 regret that people have was that they gave too much to their careers. And this includes men, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's
Too
true.
much,
I mean, of course,
so
human
that-
relation is going to be valued over money and profit.
So then
but
you
at
don't
the same
disagree
time,
with,
what
you
does
don't
that
disagree
even?
with my arguments
I do
at all.
disagree with
You're
your
agreeing with my
Yes,
argument.
humans prefer humans over a job, but that's not just singular to women. That's everyone. And my question is, what does that even have to, what is the goal of that? Should every woman quit working and just have a child?
Well, I'm just trying to warn you that if you decide to suspend that pursuit of family because you think that you have to first climb the ladder, a lot of women make that mistake and they don't end up finding a partner.
But that's their right. It's free will.
You
We
will
live
definitely
in a free
have.
Baby, ain't no such thing as a utopia. It can work either way. If you pursue the family, you could regret not doing your career, ma'am. You can regret not pursuing the thing that your heart desired. If you do that, you could regret not having the kids. How are you going to value one over the other? Because the problem with humans is that they're looking for a perfect world and they don't want to compromise on nothing. Everybody wants it all. You can't have it all. So which one is more important to you? Because at the end of the day, you're going to live with regrets the entire time if you looking for perfection. If you looking to have it all, you always gonna have a regret when you die. So learn to live in gratitude. Learn to figure out what matters to you the most. Let me tell you something. It's 9 billion people on the planet. We really don't need no more doggone kids. You ain't taking care of the ones that's here. You're not even rescuing the ones that are being abused at the house. Cut the BS.
Have a right to make a mistake.
You don't get to say what people should and shouldn't do.
I don't think my claim is this is what people should or should not do. I'm just simply stating that my claim is that you will be more fulfilled if you focus on trying to build a family.
You don't get to decide what other people are fulfilled by.
Okay, I'm making my claim here that women are infinitely more fulfilled in the household and raising children than they are taking that 9-to-5 job.
But you have no evidence of that. In fact, you are evidence against your own claim.
I'm not evidence against my own claim.
You are.
I'm saying
You're at work right now.
I was a stay-at-home mom. I would never do that shit again. I was driving trucks before I got pregnant and sat at the house. I prefer working a 9-to-5 outside than being in the house. You're not going to sit up here and tell me that I prefer and I would be more happy being stuck in the house. Absolutely not.
Literally said, I am telling you, women cannot have it all. That is an illusion, and that is an illusion that is stressing women out. And I think it is the reason why so many women are turning to popping pills, why there's been such a significant...
I agree with that. Now, that is actual factual. The idea that you can have it all is the main source of unhappiness, which means that Candace destroyed her own claim. Candace destroyed her own claim. Because you're trying to measure happiness based on getting a family. But you just said that the main source of women popping pills is the idea that they can have it all and the attempt to pursue that. And when reality rejects that, it causes cognitive dissonance and a lot of other emotions that the women can't tolerate. So could it be that maybe the main source of happiness is not a family, but the acceptance of reality and accepting that they can't have it all and to lower their expectations on life and stop being so delusional? Could that be the main source of happiness if they live according to what is and not what's perfect and ideal?
More than 1,000% increase since 1999.
But men can have it all. Men can be fathers and have a job, but women can't do that?
I don't think you can have it all.
It sounds like you're devaluing women. I think that women can do everything that a man can do, and men have done this historically throughout time and more.
That's not the argument, sweetheart. She didn't say that you couldn't do what jobs men could do. We talking about happiness.
I think women is our debate topic today. So
yeah, women exist in a society with men. We are comparing
women are trying to be both women and men, and that is why women are unhappy today. Is because actually, what's quite ironic about the feminist movement is that
I think women are just trying to be people.
I think women have been taught that being a woman is not enough, and that you have to also aspire to be a man, and that's the irony. It's like a psychological conditioning. What feminists went out and did and said is that in order for women to have value, women need to be like men. And I'm saying
Candace,
that actually women and men are biologically different. There are differences in our behavior. There are differences in our desires. And I think evidence of the feminist movement, by the way, shows us that, because even when women enter into the college education space, the pathways of career that we choose are different from men because we're biologically different, right?
Okay, so let's say that this is true, that women truly are more fulfilled at home. Now, the average cost of raising a child a year is around $21,000 or more. So my issue is, are you saying that women should just suddenly stop working and now the onus is entirely on men? Like, the society that you're pitching is not sustainable economically.
It was sustained economically.
But it's
What the girl just said was true. So, Candace, if you're saying it was sustained economically, then you have to explain the World War where women had to be pulled into working in the factories because they had nobody to sustain the workforce when the men went to war. And given the fact that we may be on the verge of going into another war, it looks like you might need women to do more than lay on their backs and pop out kids and perform mock spelling bees at the house and baking cookies. So if it was sustainable, then why did it fall? Why did women have to be pulled in at all? Because it wasn't sustainable, ma'am.
Not right
All
now.
right, pause. Naima, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Ceci.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So your claim is that women will be happier at home. I think you're conflating, though, happiness with importance, because I get what you're saying, where a woman can write a book and have kids, but the kids are always going to make her happier. But I think it just means that kids are always going to be more important, not necessarily make you happier. But also piggybacking on Naima, we don't live in an economy where people typically can have a one-income household,
right?
Whether it be the mom or dad that stays home. And so I think, and you keep bringing up the 1950s, which
because it was right before the fact.
I just don't know if that's the period of time that you want to go back to.
No, I'm just going back to the first wave of feminism.
But you want to undo progress that's been done. So I'm curious as to what decade you'd be comfortable living in, especially as a Black woman.
Okay, so we're
Wait. You got to give it to the girl. You got to give it to the girl. Yeah, okay. Since this is where you want to go back to, what time period would you, as a Black woman, be comfortable living in? Because we know what was going on with you as a Black woman in the 1950s. I mean, Black women was getting raped in the Black Panther Party, right? Black women was taking the beating. And you ain't had no rights, just like the white women ain't had no rights. So I would like the answer to that question.
Park aside the race politics because I want to.
No. So keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, because I brought race up into the conversation too. Candace is trying to deflect from race right now. Candace ain't had nothing. She couldn't bow back up at me when I brought up race though. But she's trying to evade it right here.
Okay, then as a woman, what period of time do you want to go back to?
Just as a woman, I think that it was probably a better environment for women when we understood that raising our children.
Ma'am, what time period? Screw all that. What time period, ma'am? Because like I said, y'all was getting dog walked. As a matter of fact, ma'am, they was teaching y'all how to get dog walked in home economics. You know, they had home economics to teach you about how to service your man. Wake up at the crack of dawn, right? With the roosters. And go in there and put on your makeup. And get down there and make his sandwich like you wrote in your book for his lunch. And then after you send him off to work, go cook and clean and make sure that you make lunch so that he can come home and eat lunch. Right? And you make sure you better do that in heels. And then you make sure you have the house clean so that you can get ready to take care of him when he get home. And make sure that you go to bed with makeup and hair so that way you don't have to do too much when you wake up at the crack of dawn. Right? Is that the time period you want to go back to, ma'am? Huh? Because it sounds like that's where you want to go back, if you ask me.
was fulfilling.
But some women still do understand that.
Right.
And a lot of women.
Ma'am, you shouldn't have let up off of her. You should have kept pressing her. The moment that Candace started talking, you should have just kept saying, what time period, Candace? What time period, Candace? I hear all that stuff you saying. What time period, Candace? I would have, if that was me, I'd have kept saying it. What time period, Candace? Which decade, Candace? I wouldn't have let her up. I wouldn't have said nothing else.
I'm one of them.
And I'm here advocating for you to be able to live the life that you want and for other women to be able to live the lives they want.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay. You have a career, I presume.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you let Candace off the ropes. You let her off the ropes. You were supposed to keep pressing her.
Okay. What do you work in? What field do you work in?
I do hair.
Okay. Wonderful.
Damn.
So I have both children and a career, as somebody pointed out. And so the fact that I'm saying that you will be infinitely more fulfilled at the end of the day by raising your children than you will be if you come home and you say, wow, I really crushed it dyeing somebody's hair today. What is it?
How you gonna say she would be happier doing that outside of dyeing people's hair? It's people that love doing hair. How you gonna say they kids are more fulfilling than the career they chose out of their passion?
Exactly, that makes you angry about hearing that. Like that's what I'm actually trying.
Nothing makes
I'm
me
trying
angry.
to get.
No,
I'm trying to get to the. I'm trying to get to the implicit revolution.
That's the thing is that no one
when
is
someone
angry.
mentions children.
No, see, no one's angry when you mention children. I get angry, I guess, when you mention that someone should have a children, or you're trying to impose a lifestyle onto people that you want to live, which I think is kind of funny because as someone who's anti-feminism, you practice it more than most women do. I mean, every time you get on your podcast, every time you collect a check, you're practicing feminism.
Sure is, because ma'am, there was a period that your ass wouldn't be able to say nothing. Not a dang thing. But make him a sandwich. That's all you be able to say, ma'am. She got you right there. Because you're doing everything in opposition to your doggone book.
Okay, that's what you think.
No, that's what it is. Because
actually,
without feminism, you wouldn't be able to exist.
Yeah, people keep saying, I hate when people say that.
But it's
because
just the
it
truth.
just shows that you haven't done the research to even understand where the feminism
Or you don't know
came from,
history.
which was discovered. That's what I'm saying about you, because it means that you don't understand that a bunch of government officials in the CIA funded the feminist movement. So for all of your hatred for the patriarchy,
I'm so confused.
And
So my question is,
the CIA funded organizations associated with the feminist movement, including independent research service founded by Gloria Steinem. So keep in mind these little points that she's making.
is it bad that they funded it or bad that it just happened?
Men wanted women to go into the workforce. The government, which had a lot of men, it was being
Are
run
you
by
talking
men.
about because World War II occurred and we had to
No,
go
I'm
to
talking-
factories, and then when we left the factories, they forced us back into the homes?
That's not what I'm saying at all. So let me tell you what I'm saying, and then you can respond to it.
Go for it.
Gloria Steinem is considered to be a feminist icon, right? Because she led these protests. She also had a bunch of music festivals. She got students involved. It is just a fact that Gloria Steinem was funded by the CIA, okay? The CIA being the male-dominated CIA of the 50s and the 60s.
All right, keep that in mind. She say the male-dominated CIA. She say the male-dominated CIA. See, this is why you got to listen to people. Because if you listen to people, they'll basically destroy their own argument. Right?
Funded those movements. So what do you think was the explicit aim? Do you think it was because the government really wanted you to be more free, that they wanted to encourage women to enter
Well,
the
I have to be honest with you,
workforce?
I couldn't speak on behalf of the government.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And what their intention
Well, I think it's important
was
because you
with
just said that I don't know history, and I think it's pretty important if you're going to sit across from me and say,
Let me tell you something. There's a pro and a con to everything. So even if somebody has ill intentions, people are still going to benefit off of whatever they produce. So to act like just because they had whatever intention they had that women didn't benefit from that's a salacious argument. It's crazy. Women still benefited. They was able to now go to work and not be sexually harassed by law, right? They was able to stop getting their behinds beat in the house when they were under financial control, they actually could go get their own houses. So it doesn't matter what the quote unquote CIA's intent was. There are still pros and cons and benefits that are given to the people that it's supposed to affect. Ain't nothing all bad and ain't nothing all good. So to try to deny the good that comes out of it is crazy.
I don't know history, that you learn a piece of history and then question as
you keep bringing up men. And I think it's funny because we should talk about men more. Like you brought up suicide, they're 4 times more likely to kill themselves.
Which is why I don't
And while women, we're twice as more often on antidepressants, but that's because we go out and do what we need to do to keep coping.
Because we're not happy.
And we need to focus on.
But listen, sweetheart, Candace, your argument on happiness is null and void because nature ain't designed for happiness. Do you think the animals in the wild are happy? They stressed out every day. And you all would be even more stressed out if the system wasn't set up like this. The majority of y'all wouldn't even make it. You too weak. You too weak. The wild is stressful, ma'am. Nature is brutal and ruthless. So nature don't give a damn about no happiness. Nature cares about survival and reproduction. So I don't understand your argument on happiness in connection with biology. I just don't.
Men and the patriarchy, because it's actually oppressed them just as much as women now emotionally, right? Because when we're kids, our parents teach us how to cross street, look both ways so you can get the other side unharmed. When a boy comes across a feeling, and I'm using men and boys here because they're the ones suffering, women are too, but emotionally, when they come across a feeling they haven't felt before, we have to teach them how to get to the other side and cope with it. Otherwise, they stay where they are. That anger and resentment builds. That's the feeling they become most comfortable with. That's the feeling they go to first in most situations.
Right,
so we need to stop telling our boys that they don't cry, because they do. They just do it alone, and then they become even more alone.
All right. Jasmine, nice to meet you. Okay, so you say that women are more fulfilled at home with kids than going out into the workforce or getting educated, but that just really doesn't bear out when you look at the stats, when you look at how working mothers are way less likely to be in poverty. Maternal education is the #1 predictor of childhood outcomes, better scores, getting higher incomes in the future.
You would think that was common sense though, because the mother is the first teacher of the child. And if you got a dumb mama, you definitely gonna have a dumb child. Can't you look around and see? Look, who having the kids? Dumb people. Dumb people having all the kids. And look at them. And we want more dumb people by telling the women not to be educated. Very smart.
There are fewer behavioral problems, better mental health. So it's weird to me and college-educated women are least likely to get divorced, and they're the only women, the top 10% of women are the only women whose marriage rates are going up. So they're getting married, they're staying married, and their kids are doing better. When you look at stay-at-home mothers, you see that they're more likely to report being depressed, they're more likely to report having anxiety. And
I tell you what, when I was a stay-at-home mother, I was depressed. I would never do that.
Anger and all these types of things. So how can you say that? Seems like a woman, if you want to get married and have kids, you should go to college and have a career.
So it sounds to me like we are looking at totally different statistics, because everything that you said, I've actually read the exact opposite.
I'm glad we're on a fact check show with you.
Right, exactly.
Oh, it's so exciting.
That's going to be amazing. Okay, because I know, like I said, I think what we're talking about is that there was this widespread report on female happiness, and I know that it was formally debunked, and it was.
That's not what I'm talking about. Pew Research, right. University of California. In fact, working mothers today spend more time with their children than women did in the 1960s that were at home.
Okay, well, women that are at home are obviously spending more time with their children than the people who are at work.
And their children are not faring off any better.
Quality over quantity. So if you're at the house all the time, if you're around somebody all the time, guess what? The quality of your appearance or your stay is not going to be good. It's just not. So a lot of times children like their fathers more because it's more quality time as opposed to quantity time. Familiarity breeds contempt. So when women are around their kids all the time, a lot of them begin to resent the children. because there's no space to actually be human. And it starts to come out on the kids. You would think this would make common sense. Like this is obvious, but it's not. It's really not obvious.
And they're faring off worse.
How are you measuring their children faring off worse?
How likely they are to higher incomes, better scores, fewer health problems, fewer behavioral issues, and better mental.
So the just to get back to the claim that I'm making here is that it is obvious that women who have children are going to be more fulfilled.
How is
right?
that obvious? Because you said
that was good. What? How is it obvious? Because you said so? That's what it sounds like to me.
No, it's not obvious because I said so. It's because when you look at all the statistics in terms of women who are choosing not to have families, they are, as the person who just sat here before you mentioned, they are suffering from more depression. They're suffering from more anxiety. And
that's not true.
Okay, it is true. It is actually true that women who are choosing their career.
Recent data on this topic is scarce. But CDC data shows that from 2015 to 2018, women were more than twice as likely to take antidepressants than men, and antidepressant use was more common among those with college degrees. So, which women? College degrees and what other dynamics? Just the college degrees? Because I know it's several women that have reported to me after learning and studying from me that they got off antidepressants. And what was the cause of them being on antidepressants? Rejection of truth, trying to live in a fantasy that they couldn't get to come true. The denial of reality was keeping them on antidepressants. So what is it that women believe and how women are living their lives that are causing them to be on antidepressants? I can guarantee you that it is not what you're saying it is.
Over starting families are finding themselves leaning more onto medicines like Xanax, anxiety-inducing medicines, and depression because they.
Dr. Owens put his patients on Prozac and Ritalin to keep them together. Dr. Owens, which was the doctor that did the 40,000 brain scans on the men and women, he had a couple that would argue all the time and they couldn't get along. He did brain scans on them and realized that they was completely opposite of each other. Right? She had an overactive prefrontal cortex and he had an underactive prefrontal cortex. In order for them to get along with each other, he put one of them on Prozac and the other one on Ritalin. A lot of the problems that people have is because they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. That's the main reason why a lot of people on all kind of doggone medicine. That woman didn't need no doggone Prozac. That man didn't need no Ritalin. They ass really just didn't need to be together.
Suspended that time frame where women really should be looking to find a partner and to start a family because they were instead pursuing their careers.
And why are they better off?
It is a dishonest, it is totally a dishonest narrative that men and women want the same things out of life. We don't. We absolutely do not want the same things out of life. In fact, we don't even measure success the same. Men and women don't even measure success the same.
So,
okay?
but tell me how the women who are working and getting educated, why are they faring off better in all of these?
I am telling you that I do not believe they are faring off better in all of these measures.
Because of what?
I am telling you that we are looking at totally opposite statistics. Like, so you're sitting here telling me that the statistics show that women who are working are producing better children. But I am saying that women that grow up in a two-family home where the mother stays at home are faring off better than the children who are being raised in an environment
where the women are working,
where both of the parents are working away from the home. I do get to work from home.
No. But
that's the irony.
I've watched your show. You talk about all the nannies you hire, and it's so hard to find a good nanny.
I never talked about all of the nannies I hire.
Yeah,
but
you have.
I spoke about how difficult it was to find a babysitter who knew how to cook a meal. And that's because
you don't need a babysitter. You're already, you could retire right
you have
now.
to let people respond to you when they're speaking.
You don't want to.
To respond to you when
no,
I
you
speak?
don't want to. You want to be working, which is great.
You're telling me what I want now and then accusing me of telling you.
Wait,
whoa, hold on. Hold the hell on, Candace. Stop right there. You've been telling people what they want for the last 39 minutes. And now when somebody tell you what you want, now you offended. How dare you? You're telling me what I want, and that's not fair. That's not how you do this, ma'am. For 39 minutes and 29 seconds, you've been sitting up here telling women what would make them more happy, despite what they telling you would make them more happy.
You don't want to work?
Can you just let me finish? Because you've said so many words that what you're trying to do here, like your argument style, is I'm going to say so much and not let her get a word in and then walk away and feel like I've won. We're not having a conversation because you've not letting me respond to even one of your points.
Go for it.
Okay? What I am saying to you, first to answer what you just said, which was a lie, what I spoke to you about on the weekends is that it's been increasingly difficult to find a 25-year-old who even knows how to make boxed macaroni and cheese, right? And that's crazy. That is in large part due to feminism. Women don't even focus. Like there's this idea that women shouldn't be cooking. Like there's something fundamentally wrong with women even learning how to cook.
Are you
know what I mean?
spending as much time with your children as you possibly can? Because that's the way to get the most fulfillment.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. I am speaking to you
so
as—
then stop.
Okay, could you please let somebody get in
I
a
did.
word edgewise?
I let you finish.
You're not. You
I
actually
did.
have not let anybody finish. And like I said, it's no one benefits.
You can't listen. You can't have a conversation like that. You don't need to do all of this to be able to wrap somebody up. You can have a conversation. You can let somebody finish their point of view. You can.
When you're just speaking over me and not allowing me to respond. All you're proving is that you have an attitude and you believe in feminism, but you're not. That's what I'm saying. You just have an attitude, and it's not cute. It's performative.
I love if you address my point. I will be quiet if you address my point.
Does anybody actually feel here that I am being allowed to address any of her points when she just keeps running over me? Like I'm literally trying to answer your first point of you saying that I don't stay at home.
Yeah,
fair point.
Really weird. Yeah.
Fair point. Obviously, I get that you're all anti-Candace and pro-feminist, but also it's not productive if you're not actually—
Okay, address the point.
Okay, come on now. All right, come on. Shh.
Spend more time saying that I'm not addressing, that you don't have a chance to talk. I mean, the whole time you could have addressed the point. Okay. You could have talked.
I
go for it.
Just want you to know that you're not coming across as somebody who wants to actually have a conversation. So to get back to the claim, because I don't even know where you're at. You're now talking, you're saying that I said stuff in my podcast.
I'll go wherever you want to go.
I never said.
I'll go wherever
So do you want to start with me working at home? Because I work at home. You just said something about me working at home.
You travel all around the world.
Okay,
you do speeches, and I love that. I love how ambitious you are. That's a really great trait. And if you were truly said that, you would be more fulfilled. Now, one thing you do find is women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing that, we would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar.
We live under a matriarchy, not a patriarchy.
All right. So here I come. Here I come. She say we live under a matriarchy and not a patriarchy. Then what she say? So here I go. This what y'all was all waiting for. Here we go.
Okay.
Hi. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Princella, the Queen Maker.
I love that.
So you say we live in a matriarchy.
Right.
Can you give me the definition of patriarchy?
Yes. Well, the patriarchy is the idea that the system, our system in America, is being run by men, and that women are having to exist under a system that immediately disadvantages them because men are behind it. And I disagree with that pointedly. I think actually we're living in a society where people are being very much influenced socially and politically by women.
Okay, so the denotative definition of patriarchy is father rule, and where positions of government are held majorly by men, where women are largely excluded. So 125 House of Representatives are female, and that's only about 25%.
Right.
And only about 28% make up Senate, and 3.3% of Congress up until this date have ever been women. So by denotative definition, we literally live in a patriarchy.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. I just gave you the denotative definition of the word patriarchy. You say we live in a matriarchy. Not only did I give you the definition of patriarchy, I gave you the statistics to go along with it. The fact of the matter is the government is ruled by majority male, and women are largely left out of those seats. That's what makes a patriarchy. So what we gonna disagree on? What we finna disagree on? Okay, we finna find out.
So I disagree with that. So I think what this gets to, which
Wait. That's a fact. Wait a minute. That is a fact that I just brought up. That is a fact. How you gonna disagree with a fact, Candace?
is actually an important part of the conversation, is that people always think that where there is disparity, there's somehow inequality, and I actually reject that entirely. I think it's just a difference in what we're interested in. I think we're biologically wired, we're interested in different careers, and just because if we looked in the fashion industry and said, oh, well, it's being dominated by women, it wouldn't mean that, okay, well, that means that the fashion industry is a matriarchy and men have no sense. It just means have no ability to communicate how they feel in the fashion industry. I literally think that those numbers show that we're just biologically different. So I actually think politically, women have shown that they have a lot more power than men have. And I'm talking about just in terms of political movements. The most recent I can think of is the Me Too movement, right? If a bunch of women get together and complain about a man and refer to the patriarchy and scream, generally speaking, and let me know if you agree, the media will celebrate that. If a bunch of men got together and were shrieking and speaking about women, generally speaking, the media would call them all white supremacists and say that we had a misogyny problem and that things were really wrong in society. Women are allowed to be more vocal in general about problems than men are.
Well, let me speak to that. When we're talking about government and media, these are two different things. So under the denotative definition of a patriarchy, by the percentages that are occupied in the government, which is majority male, defines us as a patriarchy. Now, what it comes to for capitalism, for marketing purposes and control, for capital and revenue, that is a totally different conversation. But who's making the laws? I don't think that women are the ones voting to have their reproductive rights taken away, where you have rape, incest, and all of these things excluded to force women to be able to have. I don't think women in government would largely vote against their own interests. All right. I said women in government. If we lived in a matriarchy, where women had control over the politics, I do not think that women would agree to have their reproductive rights trampled. Because you have to remember that we live in a patriarchy, and by denotative definition, it is based on the positions occupied in government being majority male, where women are largely excluded. I don't think that if we had a matriarchy, that the women in those seats would vote against their own reproductive rights. That's what I'm saying. Because it's majority male, patriarchy.
Okay, I think, love that point. Are women allowed to vote?
Oh, of course they are.
Who's voting that patriarchy, and then, out of curiosity?
No, I totally agree. And you want to know why? Now, Now, we went from talking about the people in the seats, because I said the women in government. She moves that conversation from the women in government to the populace, right? She moves it from the people occupying the seats to the populace. So now these are two different sets of people. So now I'm about to make commentary on the people that she's talking about. Because there are so many women who think like you. You submit to the idea of men ruling everything. And your ideology is spread across a lot of women who also falsely believe to vote against their own interests just to complain about it in the end. You know, earlier you said that, women would be much more happier working at home. But don't you agree that it's human nature to want things that you don't have? Mm-hmm. So during the 1950s, which is something that you constantly bring up, it wasn't until 1994 that it was legally illegal to beat your wife. And so what we're dealing with is... She is referring to the 1994 Violence Against Women Act, which provides protections at the federal level for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and other crimes, right? So you're asking me about the populace, about how women vote. But so many women think like Candace, the author of Make Him a Sandwich. There are so many women who are uneducated that think like Candace that are voting. These are not the people that I said that I was talking about in a quote unquote potential matriarchy, which is non-existent because we don't have majority female in the seats. That's why I say we don't live in a matriarchy. So now you start talking about the women that's voting now in a patriarchy. Well, now we got to go and talk about the mentality of the women in this day and age. And they think like you, Candace. They think like you, where they want a man to run everything, even the relationships at the house. But then it's these women that's complaining all over the internet when they get what they ask for. So it's human nature to say you want something, and then when you get it, the reality of it, you complaining. Ain't Candace Owens complaining right now after she got to sidestep her support of Trump? Ain't she complaining now? Y'all always do this. So these women that was getting their tails beat, a lot of them still think like you. And a lot of these women don't even know nothing about this 1994 Act. The women that's voting, they don't even know anything about this 1994 Act. Is people wanting something, and then when they get it, they're not happy with it, and then they have to revoke that idea for something else. And so what you're saying is that women vote for these things because they have the same mentality as you.
Okay. So you're acknowledging that women have the freedom to vote.
Yes.
And you're saying that women are still existing mentally, even with the freedom to vote.
Correct.
They are voting men in because we are still victims of...
No, I ain't said nothing about no victimhood. See, what she was trying to do, she was trying to create an argument that she could feel comfortable debating. So I already saw what she was trying to do when she brought up that victim mess. Now, I'm the type of person, I don't believe in no victimhood. So that was real critical, the fact that you put this victim word in there. No, ma'am, I do not believe in victims. I believe in total uneducation. I believe in ignorance, not victim.
believe in victimhood. I believe in lack of education and lack of knowledge, because one of the things that you also say...
Do you think that it could just be that more men are running for positions of office?
No, not necessarily. Because remember, the United States, the average reading comprehension of people in the United States is 6th grade. So we're not dealing with educated people. Lack of education is the cause for what we see in the world. And if we educate the women better, because a nation can rise no higher than its woman, and if she reading and comprehending at a 6th grade level and popping out a lot of kids, because the brokest people in the world pop out the most kids. So if we have those people voting, of course they're going to vote against their interests, because they're voting for some utopian society that will never exist.
Okay, so that's why you think Kamala lost.
This ain't even about Kamala.
Because you're talking...
Where did Kamala come into play here? Where did Kamala come into this conversation is what I'm trying to figure out. Our conversation is about a matriarchy or a patriarchy. She still has not proven that we live in a matriarchy. Now, why is this critical? Because earlier she said that the CIA, which was a bunch of men, funded the feminist movement, right? They did that. The lawmakers, the rulers, right? The same people who funded that also was a part of the education too. And we know that the American education system ain't worth diggity. And this is connected to how people vote. This goes in direct correlation to how people vote, their level of education. And we dealing with people who read and comprehend at a 6th grade level. So, if you're trying to talk about women voting, and the people who funded the feminist movement allowed these women the illusion of freedom and gave them the opportunity to vote with low levels of education, do you think they have anything to worry about women or how they're going to vote? Do you? They're going to vote based on fear, ideas of a utopia. They'll vote in alignment with whatever their husband wants. They're not actually doing no study. And the condition of the mentality of the women is a direct relation to how the system is structured with those who funded the education. So if we lived in a matriarchy, do you think that the matriarchy would stupefy the leaders? The first teacher of the child? Do you think that the matriarchy would stupefy the people that is based on? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Women, no, but we had an opportunity.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had a male running and we had a female running. And we actually showed that Trump increased the amount of women who voted for him, right? So I'm asking you, do you believe that the reason that happened was because women became less educated during that time?
They've always been less educated. Did you know that UNESCO says that that 2/3 of the 7.7 million illiterate adults is women? Illiterate. And we have UNESCO found that 2/3 of adults who are unable to read are women. 2/3. So I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about, Candace. What you talking about, Candace? Education is so important to how people vote.
Because they don't vote based on policy, they vote based on feelings. They vote based on ego. Grade educated people voting. And guess who? Guess the dominant population? It's white women. And so guess what? Now you have to add a race element into that, which you already know exists. Because who voted Trump in? White women. White women. Because that wasn't black folks. That wasn't black folks. So now you got to add race in here. You have to add race. What's the difference between white women and black women when it comes to voting? Uh-oh. Not only do you have to add race in it, now you got to add class. Now you got to add class while you're talking about just straight feminism. You can't talk about straight feminism without talking about race and class. Because we, as black folks, we ain't the dominant people voting people in. Okay, so now when we have to go into white supremacy and feminism, now you have to look at the mind of the people who actually have economic success and what they're voting for, because classism actually matters as well. So I'm sorry, but a lot of people vote based on their feelings and not based on policy.
Pause, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you for the respectful conversation.
She was confused. She was confused. She got up and said that she was confused about my argument. She said she was confused about my argument. Are y'all confused about my argument? I'm trying to understand. Are you all confused by my argument? Because I thought I was quite clear. I think that her confusion I believe that her confusion came due to her thinking about feminism and not arguing whether or not we lived in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. The people who funded these movements you talking about were men, ma'am, not women. The people occupying these government seats are men, not women. So, is there anybody in disagreement? Is there anybody in disagreement? I think that Candace actually owned all the other people. I really think that she owned the other people because none of them were really able to stay on topic. None of them were actually able to stay on topic. They was going here, there, around the way. But the fact of the matter is, she did not convince anybody that we lived in a matriarchy. At least she ain't convinced me. In my eyes, the conversation was over after the definition and the statistics. After the definition and the statistics, that was over. Some things had got cut out. One of the things that got cut out was the fact that Candace has said because women can be on TV modeling and all of that stuff, that's the reason why we in the matriarchy. And that's why I said, well, when we talking about marketing and business purposes and women being at the front of that, that's a whole nother discussion. But when we're talking about the creation of policy and law enforcement, baby, that is all the government. That is male. Right? But usually I don't I hadn't taken call-ins in a while. So I reckon that y'all would like to call in and voice your opinions. So I'm gonna give y'all 2 minutes. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes on the line, and you can just call me and tell me what you thought about the whole thing. All right. In the meantime, while I'm setting this up, I'm also going to read the super chats. Okay. I appreciate y'all support, right? I think I was the only one that didn't cut off. I think I was the only one that did not cut off. All right. So, all right. We got White Ram, $2. Happy 7th birthday to Amaya. Thank you. She will be so happy for that. Thank you. Aaron Pereira, $50. Emmeline Piguero, $20. Thank you. Stephanie B, $10. Showing a little support, love and support. Thank you for teaching. Professor P, thank you. Moya, $5. This was great. A great debate, P. You killed it. I wish you could have debated her longer. Yes, indeed. Thank you. I can't speak for everybody here. Oh, Candy Cane Lane, $5. I can't speak for everybody here, but I miss P debates, especially when it's with people, other intelligent people. Aaron Pereira, $20. Candace is disconnected from the creator.
Unknown caller.
And Tavandra, $10. Had to come back for this one. Send them PayPal. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Karen Griffin, £2. Congrats on the 100K. Thank you so much. All right. So the phone number here, if you want to call in and give your commentary, the number is 832-627-6575. Call one time. All right. And I will call you back in the order that your call was received. So if you can't get through, just hang up and I'm gonna call you back. All right. So I appreciate that. And I will start taking these calls. All right. Let's see. Let me make sure that y'all can get through.
Unknown caller.
I want to make sure you can get through. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Hello. Can you turn your TV down?
Sure.
How you doing? Who am I speaking with?
Hi, this is Goddess. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What you got for me? 2 minutes.
Look, I saw you and talking to Candace, and she didn't know what she was expecting to talk to. Okay, you were hitting it on points that even her eyebrow raised up. I'm so proud of you for bringing this to her attention, and also many people who didn't have the idea or even know what was going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Queen.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Hello. Hey, Princella.
Hello. Who am I speaking with?
This is Julie. How you doing?
Hello, Julie. What you got for me? I'm excellent.
Oh my God. Candace looked like she was a mouse or a rat in the sights of a rattlesnake. It served her right though. She doesn't know. I mean, she's a shill. She's like Ann Coulter. She's doing this, but she may look all nicely dressed and everything, but she's a total mammy. And it's like, how could you, as a black woman with any self-respect, ever go on like that? She's going to get a rude awakening at some point. These black people who forget they're black, she thinks because she's married to some strange white guy nobody ever heard of, that she's like this hot stuff. She's an idiot, and she is propagating ideas that are dangerous. And for the young, and as you say, uneducated, ignorant, and impressionable, people like her are a menace. She's a Pied Piper leading people, right into the side of a mountain. I don't respect people like her, and she makes me sick. Sitting up talking about, well, I work at home, and my children is, and she's, she's leading her own people down the garden path. Women, and as you say, a lot of women aren't clever. They aren't well educated, and the
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Your call has been forwarded.
We got disconnected. We got disconnected. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm glad that you took her on, and she couldn't fight you. She looked kind of like scared, like a deer in headlights. And I think her body language told the whole story. She was outmatched. I wish we'd had more time to get at her, as it were.
Yes, indeed.
You know, I can't stand people like her. She's leading our whole people down the garden path, and women are the crooks of everything. Though we haven't attained the power, as you described, governmentally as we should have, we can't even prep for it with people like her disrupting other currents and other dynamics that are trying to get women prepped for, as you say, their rightful place. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's like a Pied Piper. She is a misleader, a Judas Stoat, and I don't respect her. I'm glad you took her on. I just wish you'd had more time to just, pluck her apart like wet toilet tissue.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I sure appreciate you calling. Thank you.
Thank you, Princella. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, who am I speaking with?
Hi, sister. You're speaking to Victoria.
All right, it's a pleasure to meet you. 2 minutes, what you got?
I want to say that your part of the debate was the most logical one. I feel like people voted you out because your part comes with a place whereby women have to take accountability for how they really caused future people existing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to say, when you brought up the point of patriarchy and of racism and capitalism, it also really shows that true matriarchy can't exist without issues of racism and capitalism being brought up. So I really want to say thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, Princella.
Hello, who am I speaking with?
Antoinette. I'm just so happy to watch that. I'm so glad you got to debate with Candace. Oh my God. When I came and I seen your live, I was like, oh, I need to watch this. Thank you so much. Your debate was amazing. I mean, you brought knowledge and wisdom and just heart and true authenticity. And I feel like she just had talking points as if she's ready to fail, like if she's losing a debate, she's gonna bring up certain things to kind of like derail the topic and kind of like throw a wrench, in the wheel. I feel like watching her. So I was just glad to see you bring that wisdom, and then for her also to know that there are women like you that do exist, and there will be more, and you're raising up a whole bunch of them right now. And so I was so grateful to see that. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All
Bye.
right. Hello, who am I speaking with?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Hi, how you doing, Priscilla?
I'm fantastic. 2 minutes, what you got for me?
All right, probably won't take 2 minutes, but yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about the debate. I mean, she wasn't ready. When I originally seen it, I was really hoping it was just you and her,
Mm-hmm.
because I would have loved to see you have a full conversation, because everything she says has always bothered me to the core. And to see you be able to break her down would just been great. But regardless of everything, I love the growth. I love seeing you just knock down every wall. Tonight's conversation, I can't wait to see that. And I'm thankful for you. You've helped me tap into my authentic self, and I wouldn't be here without you. So
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right now.
Hello.
Princella speaking. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, I'm Raven.
How you doing, Raven? 2 minutes. What you got?
Okay, I've been watching your channel for almost 4 years, and I love, like, every time I watch one of your videos, you always bring up the importance of education and how it plays a huge role in everything. And my grandmother, she always instilled in me the importance of education. She always said, without an education, you might as well be dead. And that you brought up in the debate, how like women are doing things or they're not doing things because of the lack of their education. And I think that's very important, that women need to highly educate themselves and spread that education on to younger women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
All right.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Princella speaking. Who am I speaking with?
Jerica.
Hello. What you got for me tonight? 2 minutes.
I want to know if you, oh, sorry, we're on speakerphone. Okay, I would like to know. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, I had your video was playing in the background. Let me turn that off. I want to know if you are into Dr. Joe Dispenza's information.
I haven't listened to it, but all who discover the truth discover the same thing. So what?
Okay, so my question to you is, if you ever get a chance to talk to Candace again, would you bring up the fact that we are all souls and we are due sovereignty? Like she sounds like she's trying to send us back to the 50s for sure. Like, how can she tell us that we would be happier with raising children when we are all independent souls?
Well, you just have to look at the fact that she keeps bringing up biology as if our nature is the end of us, right? Right. It's the beginning and the end, and it's simply not, right? So she thinks that because you're naturally able to reproduce and that's what nature wants, that you should be happy with that. But nature is not about happiness. Happiness is not a concept of nature. So that's what I would argue her on.
Okay, and just really quick, there is a sister by the name of Vicky Dillard. She's breaking down how long before slavery, long before any of that, the Moors were the first to betray the great mothers, the Sibyls. And I would love to see you go more into that in the future. It seems like we are living in an echo of something that's been going on for millennia. What the story of what happened to Lilith from Herbing, it's just like I feel like we are underneath a spell where they have used, according to Vicky Dillard, rape and molestation to take down the original matriarch that did run the planet. And we're still living in that echo to this day. And women like you are helping to rise us out of that. But women like Candace seem to be working for an ancient patriarchal group ideology, trying to keep us suppressed. And that's just all I have to say. And I have so much respect and love for you, Princella. I can't even express it on this call. I hope you feel it I'm here in Arizona. I hope you feel it from way over here, wherever you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, who's speaking?
Oh, this is Shy. Hey, P.
Hello, Shy. Well, 2 minutes. What you got for me?
I just wanted to say, thank you so much for all that you do. You have helped me in so many ways. And I also just wanted to say that I think you interacting with Candace is kind of what's kind of been prophesized coming up in like the new age now, where old leaders and new leaders are colliding and the new leaders are starting to rise up. So I definitely appreciate how you're on that 5D frequency and how you are fulfilling your purpose and encouraging other people to fulfill their purpose as well.
Yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
No worries. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Hello.
Princella speaking. Who am I speaking with?
It's Leanna. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What you got for me? 2 minutes.
Oh my God, for one, congrats. I think that's amazing that you were able to do it. I have to see the whole interview. Were you only able to, um, I guess, have that discuss just that one part, or were you able to argue with her in the other section?
Just that, just one part.
I see. Oh, you would have torn her a new one. Oh my God.
Yeah. If you saw what I did tonight, I basically gave how I would have approached these arguments if I was able to debate her on those other points as well.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like, you would have torn her a new one. And again, not that you need it from me or anything, but I'm so proud of you. Oh my God. And all these spaces that you're going into, you're going to make such huge movements. I'm so happy for you. And I'm so happy to be part of this arc. And I'm so happy to be bringing my daughter along to this, because I was like, this is going to be earth shattering information. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. You're doing great. I'm so happy for you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, Princella speaking. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, this is Dal. Thanks for calling me. How are you doing?
Fantastic. 2 minutes. What you got for me?
Yeah, I think the one thing I wanted to say was first, like, congratulations, new heights on the new channel here. And I wanted to mention that it was interesting that you were voted off by the majority. And I think it was important to bring it up because in this movement that you're conducting here, this logic-based movement, I find that more people are going to be more, let's say, contradictory towards your message simply because you have this allegiance to logic, and that makes people uncomfortable. And I think you're on the right path, because we're in a new era, age of the Aquarius, age of artificial intelligence. This is the new language of the world. So I'm actually not surprised that they voted you off, because it's like, it was ego based. You were clearly conducting the conversation, but the other participants, even if they agreed with you, because of that ego, they didn't want you to have the spotlight. So that's all I had to say to you. Congratulations, and I appreciated the message.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Princella speaking. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, my name is Chelsea. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, Chelsea. 2 minutes. What you got for me?
I just gotta say you cooked, right? I'm a chef and you cook better than me. Let me tell you something. The cognitive dissonance with this woman was crazy, right? To look down on feminists, yet you directly benefit from it is crazy. She sat there with someone previous, boasting about working from home, being home boss, yet you support patriarchy. When your life reflects the direct opposite is wild, right? To completely deflect, now choosing the 1950s timeline to live in, yet you use that same timeline to prove your point of being fulfilled and what women should be doing is wild, right? Yet her book is called Make Me a Sandwich While Making More Money Than Your White Husband. So now when you sat there, and she realized you are not like the others. There is no emotion, only logic. What happens, right? She's exposed, right? She does, what does the exposed typically go to? All of a sudden, she's confused. What she was confused about? That was a seamless debate on your part. Hard to believe an intellectual being like Candace was confused on a straightforward, clean-cut rebuttal, despite her trying to deflect, which is a common tactic with politicians. So she's obviously learned from the best. So kudos to you for your self-mastery. I really appreciate what you did out there. Seriously, great job. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right.
All right. So that's gonna conclude the calls tonight. We got a few more super chats in. I want to let you know that my workshop, Love, Men, and Manipulation Decoded, is coming up August 11th through the 13th. So if you are one of these people who are confused about this concept called love in accordance with male nature and manipulation, this is the place you need to be, really. I think 99% of people don't understand what love is, but I believe that I can clarify it for you. Also, if you are new, if you haven't gotten a chance to get my book,
Unknown caller.
41 Shades of Men, The Pursuit to Subdue and Use You, I think that'll be a better read than Make Him a Sandwich. Okay. So that's on Audible and Amazon. You should check that out. Okay. All right. Let's see. So, Blessed 31, $10. What a great live. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Erasely, thank you. KB7, $5. She wasn't confused. She was relieved. Your time had expired. She often dons the blonde wig whenever her grift is exposed. It has happened often before. Let's see. Sweet Dreams, $35.10, $2. You're so well spoken and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. Justin, $10. Queen, you had too many facts and touched a nerve with your knowledge and psychological analysis. Candace was clearly afraid of your intelligence and knowledge. Very intimidated. I fucking love it. Thank you. Kitten Smitten, $5. Can you invite Candace on your show or vice versa? I think that debate would break the internet. You're the only one capable of challenging her, I feel. Desiree Merson, $20. Thank you. And Sweet Dreams, $35.10, $10. I am seriously pleased to have found you, P. I'm 32. I have no kids and I have a job that I enjoy. I'm entirely fulfilled with the way that I live. I love kids, but that's not me. Respect and love from Tennessee. Thank you. I appreciate that. Illuminated Pisces, $10. Thank you for your continued dedication, education, and betterment, Princella. And another $10 because we meet goals around here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you haven't liked the show, please like the show. You'll get an opportunity to come back and check out some more stuff. So, hey, I hope y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.